No.
I have it. I've been wanting to.
Ah, we're going. Excellent. Okay, we're live. All right, welcome everybody. We're back. Woodstock Trading Company. One of our. Oh, that sounded bad. Something spilled, I think. We're live, so we don't know what's going to happen. We're at Woodstock Trading Company, and this is one of our incense discussions. The last one, we would apologize if it was our fault. Not that we aren't sorry, but something went kerflooey with the internet. I don't know if it was Yahoo's fault or if it was. Well, I won't mention the major corporation. So something went wrong. Anyway, we got through a lot of good stuff, and I really wanted to do a lot more, but that's okay. It made things a little easier for this trip. Now we're going to go over a whole lot of stuff. If anybody has any interest in getting any samples, send us a self-addressed stamped envelope. Woodstock Trading Company, 1880 Route 70 East, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, 08003. We'll send you some samples out. If there's something particular that you want, that's cool. If not, we can just kind of, if you trust us, just send you some random stuff. But we're going to show off some really interesting things. Unfortunately, we can't send the molecules through the internet yet. They're working on the 3D printer where they actually assemble molecules. They're working on that. That's going to be really cool. Anyway, some upcoming events before we press on with the topic. Our next drum circle is going to be tomorrow. Okay, that's going to be tomorrow. That's pretty cool. All right. And that starts at 7, right? That's at 7?
7 to 10.
7 to 10. Excellent. Okay, there we go.
And the one after that.
And then the one after that, that's going to be in October on the 10th. That's a Friday. Also 7 to 10. My next little discussion here on all this stuff, on incenses and things, that's going to be, you can't get Thursday right. Every time we print this, it always says thrust. It's some Freudian thing going on. Right, I know. Anyway, that's going to be on October 9th. That's also at 5:30, just like this one here. We stream live, so all you guys out there, you can get to see this. Our next tarot reading with Angel, that's going to be,
No, it's
September
coming up
7th.
the 14th.
The 14th. Okay, excellent. Oh, 7th and the 14th, right. So the 7th was. And that's 1:30 to 4:30. Come by. You'll be impressed.
We have a wire.
And, in fact, with us here is our wire wrap instructor extraordinaire right here. And she's going to be doing her next class September 20th. Do be here. I think you're going to learn a great skill. No experience. Saturday, right? No experience necessary. You don't need any tools. You don't even need to have anything specifically. We provide you with everything. It's a $35 charge, but when you're done, you're going to end up with a really cool crystal pendant. So, and you probably won't be able to buy one for $35.
This Saturday we have a concert with Suburban Sensei as well.
The magic voice chimes in with a Suburban Sensei. I think you're going to like these guys. If you get a chance, if you can come by, please do. Also, our little garlic festival, September 27th. It's also my mom's birthday, by the way, just have you know. And it's kind of in her honor and all that kind of thing. Chris Noyes Trio, you're going to like them. They play all sorts of stuff. Very eclectic. Also, for all you local guys in the Philly area, kind of a local legend, certainly a legendary voice, DJ on WMGK, Andre Gardner, is going to be here. So please, any Beatles questions or comments, he's the guru on this subject. Also, Mad Hatter's Lawn Concert, that's going to feature Jug Band. Definitely you want to see these guys. They're seriously really, 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 really good, and they're really good guys. That is October 11th. That's a Sunday, right? Sunday. And that's from noon, Saturday, excuse me. Saturday, the 11th, from noon to 4 p.m. Come by and we're going to make crazy hats and cool stuff like that. So, yeah.
If anybody wants to get further information, they could, Facebook us, because we always provide announcements on Facebook. Like us at Woodstock Trading Company. And if you want to get on our newsletter list for any upcoming events, just email us at wtc@woodstocktradeco.com, and we'll be more than happy to put you on our newsletter list. And the commercials.
So one of the things I wanted to mention, and this was a big topic here in the store, and it was driving us crazy. And there's some local fellas here that have been asking about frangipani. That's it right there. This was quite a project to get back in the store. Why? Was it worth the effort? Yes, it was absolutely worth the effort. It's an amazing, amazing fragrance. This is made by the same people, pardon, that make a few other fragrances that you may have tried. Sometimes it's referred to as Noctampa Flora. We call it Mars Choice, and or Champaka. They're amazing, amazing fragrances. This one here is their foray into the world of Champa incenses. This is one of the best Champa incenses. Number 11, and it's absolutely outrageous and beautiful. And if you're a Champa fan, you need this. This is a must-have. This is like Sergeant Pepper, right? It's got to be in your collection, or Dark Side of the Moon. This has to be in your collection. This is seriously great stuff. Yeah, right. Or our wire wrap. She's a trip. Come see her, Marion. Take the wire wrap class just to hang with her, even if you don't. We understand each other on a strange and dark level. We both have our obsessions, and we're sort of semi-shameless about it, but around each other we have absolutely no shame about it. And it's really very liberating. So if you have an obsession, come to the wire wrap class and share yours, because there's no way that you can possibly embarrass yourself around her, certainly. It's absolutely impossible. So where we left off, right, or where we're going to begin is item number 58, Precious Sandal. Okay. This is absolutely one of our finest and favorite sandalwoods, and this is a great sandalwood for people that don't particularly care for sandalwoods, because it's like, well, they're very smoky, or they're very dry, or they choke me, or whatever, or the oil-based sandalwoods are too strong, they give me a headache and they make me sneeze or whatever. This is none of those. This is a fairly nicely sweetened sandalwood. Let me pass this around, actually, which is great. That's part of the fun of this. The profile of it, of course, sandalwood being the core of the fragrance, but it's so nicely sweetened, and you'll also pick up elements of toffee, butterscotch, kind of marshmallowy. Right, it's so beautifully formulated, and it's not your typical sandalwood. Also, you're going to pick up something almost like buttered popcorn, right, a buttery quality, or basmati rice, a certain quality that you get from basmati rice is present in this. Now, the history and all this Precious Sandal, I suspect, for some older folks out there who used to go buy from a line of incenses called Primo. They're very distinctive triangular tubes. And then the base tier, and then a middle tier they call Connoisseur, and a top tier they call Reserve.
Kind of like a perfume.
Exactly. Very much so. I suspect that this is from the same manufacturer that made all of the Primo incenses. Okay? They have a distinctive thumbprint to their products. If you smell one, you smell another one, you'll know that it's from them. Mm-hmm. It's a certain musky, buttery quality that all of their incenses have. So this, I believe, is their middle tier or Connoisseur sandalwood, but I purchased this in bundles, quarter-kilo bundles, rather than in these little thin tubes. I've had them side by side, and they're the same. So I suspect the same people that make this also make the next level up. This is the Reserve Sandal, which we call Superb Sandal. Okay, this is a sister product, and
What number is it?
This is good question. This is number 157. This is almost identical to Precious Sandal, but a little bit sweeter It's a little less smoky. And it has more of that basmati rice note, right? Let me hand this over.
You're saying this is a little less smoky and
even still, and the precious sandal is not terribly.
and
Oh,
sweeter,
but it does make you sneeze.
less smoky and bless you.
Thank you. Every time I weigh that out, that particular one, these two, when I weigh them out, they make me sneeze good.
And sweeter than.
It's a little sweeter than the precious sandal. It's a little bit more of that basmati rice note that you're going to pick up. Not as much of that buttery or popcorn quality, or diacetyl acetate to be chemical for you. So these two, I'm certain, are the same manufacturer. Now, for a while, what we call our superb sandal, which was the Reserve Primo.
I can smell an oaky smell.
Okay, that's
the wood. Both the woodsy smell, but that's a 10 bit sweeter.
Oh, exactly. You're exactly right. A little more clean, a little more refined, I suppose.
That works.
A little more refined, which doesn't necessarily mean better, just different. A little less assertive.
I think I like the one before a little bit better, but that's just me.
Absolutely.
But I can smell. I can pick up the oak on that.
So for a while, I couldn't get this at all. The entire Reserve tier was discontinued. And then for a while, I was buying them in these strange tins, these half-kilo tins from a dealer in San Francisco. And every one of them, they look like cookie tins, you know, like you ever get those square Belgian cookie tins. And every one of them was different. Everyone had a different depiction of some scene from, like, Hindu, the story of all this stuff. And everyone was different, and every one of them weighed different. Some of them were 400 grams, some of them were 600 grams. It was a real fun thing. And then I couldn't get it again. Disappeared off the face of the earth. And then somebody came in and said, I found your incense. It's being imported under the label Adi Darasa. And they called it Sandalwood Rasa. And they had 4 fragrances. They had a rose. They had one called Holy Cat, right? Very interesting. Sandalwood Rasa, and there was one other whose name eludes me. And so I was buying it that way for a long time, and then it disappeared again. The entire line disappeared. I couldn't get it at all. And then I kept bugging people, when, like, this one incense, can you get it? And this one outfit kept promising me over and over and over and over again they'd get it. And after years of bugging, eventually it showed up. Bought half a kilo, and the first quarter kilo, my staff ended up basically buying or taking. And then the other quarter kilo sold in 2 days. So I called them again. They were like, I want this incense again. They're like, which one was it? And I said, you guys called it Sandalwood Supreme. Like, never heard of it. Like, I just ordered it from you a few days ago. And they're like, do you know the catalog number? And I'm like, yeah, and I looked on the invoice. I still had it. Lucky. It was like X800. I'm like, X? You don't have anything that begins with X. And it drove me nuts. So after a while, they did figure it out. So I still carry it. It has changed names a few extra times. It was Supreme Sandal. Then I got a new incense called Supreme Sandal. It's a nightmare. The names on these things are enough to drive you nuts. But people who like these two will generally also like this one. And I'll tell you this. This is, and I suspect it's the same manufacturer also. This is number 22, Green Patchouli, which, although it's green, really doesn't smell much like patchouli. But it's a wonderful fragrance. It, again, has a certain kind of slightly musky, slightly ambery quality that you can tell that they have a common ancestry. They have
It's very dry.
Much drier than the others in the sandals. It's a little bit minty. Again, it doesn't smell much like patchouli. It's wonderful fragrance. It's more of a light musk sandal. Again, that sort of butterscotch,
I'll see a bit of vanilla.
minty. Yeah, okay.
Of all
Vanilla,
things.
sure. Amber. You're picking up ambers, which can have a vanilla. In fact, I have an incense called Vanilla Amber that probably doesn't contain any vanilla. But some ambers can come off as smelling kind of marshmallowy or almost like that smell from Play-Doh.
Play-Doh.
The smell from Play-Doh. Which
Okay.
apparently it's such a recognized phenomenon. The smell of Play-Doh. It was even commented on once. I think I saw a documentary on it, and they said it's a proprietary fragrance. But I suspect it's probably just a preservative that they use that gives it that smell. Some of the parabens have that smell. It's to prevent mold from growing, but I don't think that's the case with these incenses. That is not to say I haven't had incenses that haven't had mold growth. That does happen. Some of them, the mold growth is actually really very desirable. One called Shivranjani, which is very bitter, very aggressive fragrance, not your typical everyday incense. It smells sort of like heat and ozone. Very interesting, very clean, very cleansing.
You call it Nap Champa's bitter sister.
I have in the past. And sometimes you'll get batches of it that have little mold colonies on it. Sometimes they're like an interesting odd lavender color, much like the shirt you're wearing. And I had somebody who was lamenting, they had a whole mess of this. They didn't know what to do with it. They couldn't sell it because nobody wanted moldy incense. And I happen to know that if you get lucky and you get that Shivranjani with the mold on it, it's actually really good. It's wonderful. It's even better. So I was happy to relieve him of about 5 kilos that he had, but he was willing to sell to me very inexpensively. So for a while, people were able to get Shivranjani here for about half the price. That was some time ago now. I was selling I think it was like a 25-gram pack at the time for $1. I don't even think I can buy it that way anymore. But every once in a while I get lucky and I'm able to score, boy, I made these packs really good. That's another subject, the packs I use, since we're stalling. People come in, they smell the packs, and they're kind of frustrated because they can't smell anything.
Smell the store.
Right. They'll smell everything in the store, but they're not going to smell what's in the pack. Okay. That's a very important thing for me. These packets, I'm going to show something else. They're made of cellophane. I had a little discussion on this once before. Most packaging that you see that's clear like this and flexible is plastic. All right? Usually that's the case. It's plastic. This is not plastic. It's a polymer, but it's not a polymer. It's not a hydrocarbon polymer. Okay? This is a polymer of sugar. It's made of sugar. For all you wannabe chemists out there, cellophane is nearly identical. Well, it's identical in content to starch, right? It's just a polymer of glucose, right? Except the way the molecules are arranged, they form cellulose. So I found a company that I'm able to get cellophane, real cellophane, from. The benefit of it is, beside it being biodegradable, and it's so biodegradable that you don't about 6 to 8 months worth of packets at a time, because they're going to begin to actually break down. These things are that biodegradable. And it's not like fake biodegradable, like the biodegradable trash bags I had, remember, in the 90s, which weren't really biodegradable. They broke down, but they broke down into little pieces of plastic instead of big. This is actually made of sugar, all right? This is probably more biodegradable than paper, all right?
Wow.
So he did warn me about that. So what's the benefit? One, besides, it's made from sawdust. So this is like free good stuff, really, as far as the environment is concerned. But also, cellophane acts as a barrier for oils, okay? Oils being non-polar things, right? Sugar being a polar thing. Do you ever try and dissolve sugar in oil? It won't dissolve, right? Water is a polar substance, and it'll dissolve in water. Wait a few seconds, and you'll smell the clove oil through the plastic bag like it's not even there, right? So oil is penetrating through the plastic like it's not there, okay? If you put some cloves in a cellophane sleeve like this, it could sit there for days and you will never smell the cloves because the oil cannot penetrate it. It's as good as glass or metal, right? But it's more flexible. Here's why it's even better than glass or metal. This also allows moisture to pass through. so that your stuff's not going to get moldy, right, and start to get mildewy, which is really the problem. So water can pass in and out. Some incenses need a certain amount of water too. Champas have this stuff in it called halmadi, which is hygroscopic. It means it pulls water from the air. That's why champas never feel dry. They always feel kind of doughy, right, and kind of wet. So you don't want them to dry out completely, because if they do dry out, then they're going to burn hot and be harsh and unpleasant. Okay, so and I've had that happen, and I actually put it in a humidor, and it made a huge difference. I'm going to show you one other item from what I believe is the same manufacturer as those others. This is absolutely brand new for us, and I'm amazed by it. This is number 129. Let me pass this around. Here we go. To the left. Take it. Pass to the left. Called Amethyst, number 129. It's really unusual. Very aromatic. Absolutely gorgeous. Frankincense. You can smell the similarity. Again, it smells very similar to the precious sandal. Again, has that sort of butterscotchy, musky, ambery quality, but also a good hit in there of frankincense, or what I perceive as frankincense. And something highly aromatic in there that I cannot quite figure. Vaguely floral, crisp, almost like lime or citrus, but that might be the frankincense.
What about bergamot?
It could be. You see, I'm thinking it might be the frankincense.
Okay.
See, bergamot, most citrus oils themselves don't respond well to heat. So frankincense, terrible. Certain oils do not respond well to heat. So I'm thinking it's frankincense.
It's purple.
Isn't that wild?
It smells like the color.
Yeah.
Yeah, it smells like.
It smells like
Amethyst.
To smell like.
It's
But
amethyst.
if it had a scent, that would be it.
Chandon Deluxe is no longer 129.
No. Chandon Deluxe is something that is either very difficult to impossible to get. Plus, I just think this is a much more exciting fragrance.
Okay, so
I
this
just
is
assume replace it with something like this.
What
That's
is your
intriguing.
This is an amazing fragrance. In fact, I'll take this moment. If you have any interest, this is actually a really good choice. So if you want to try something really, really amazing, and it's brand new to me, again, you can get that popcorny smell, right?
Musky.
Right?
I'm not picking not as
Really?
much.
Okay. That's why I'm really happy. Send us a self-addressed envelope. All right, we can send you a sample of this. It's 1880. Woodstock Trading Company, 1880 Route 70 East. We're in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, 08003. This is called Amethyst, number 129. If you remember one or the other, it doesn't matter, or both. The unburned sticks are amazing too. It also has a cool smell. It reminds me of something aquatic or almost briny. Smell the unburned sticks. Do me a favor. And it almost has a smell almost of salt water. Okay? We're very familiar with salt water because we're always bringing
What
in
about
salt.
ylang-ylang?
It's very possible.
Sometimes they use that a lot in like sea.
Or something similar to it. I mean, it's not an expensive incense, so if it did contain the ylang-ylang material, it would probably be a perfume and not the oil, or some approximation. There is a floral note to this. Of this, there is no doubt. But it's not rose, and it's not jasmine. It's not mogra.
It's clean.
I can tell you what it isn't. There's almost a green note.
It's not patchouli or something.
No.
That effect at all.
Certainly not. The unburned sticks do have a kind of,
Citrus.
I'm getting a brine, like, or you've mixed up strong saltwater solutions, and there's a certain smell that the sodium solutions give off that I'm picking up from the unburned sticks, but it doesn't come through when it's lit. This is Amethyst, brand new for me. I'm blown away by it.
What is the prices on it?
This Amethyst is not too expensive. It's a $2 pack. It's 15 grams. I can weigh out 40-gram packs, which are $5. You might be able to fit $10 worth, possibly. No, I wouldn't be able to fit that in here.
So it would be
But yeah,
2 and 40.
right. 40 grams for $5. $2 for 15 grams. 15 grams is a little bit more than half an ounce, if that helps. I'm going to show you. I'm going to kind of take a departure. This is a different manufacturer, but this is still one of our classic incenses. Again, this is a sandalwood base, but it's spiced up with some really great stuff. This is one of those items. This is another one of those dark side of the moon kind of things, right? Where really every incense collection should have, if you care to have any sandalwoods at all. Okay. This one here, let me pass this over. This is number 38. This is Kasturi Chandan. I doubt it contains real Kasturi. It's real Kasturi. If you want to look at something kind of icky, go online and look up Kasturi, Kasturi. It's kind of a weird material. It's I believe it's from like the scent glands of some kind of beaver-like animal, which is used to make fragrances and confections that have a vanilla-like quality, and this certainly has a vanilla-like quality. There's also, again, like we were talking about something vaguely citrusy, also a certain amount of cardamom, which also gives that lemony quality, and probably a little bit of coriander seed, and I'm suspecting a certain amount of anise or something akin to anise. It might be star anise, because star anise is quite aromatic. Regular anise seeds, when they burn, because they're so fatty, they don't produce that kind of a smell. They produce more of a burning fat smell. But fennel oil or anise seed oil, nonetheless, you can smell something in there that's akin to it. So I'm suspecting that this contains some star anise, which, if you've ever had any Chinese food that has like the classic 5-spice powder, that's one of the key ingredients to Chinese 5-spice powder.
Pizzelles have anise.
Okay, there you go, pizzelle, right, but probably not star anise.
No, probably not. It's regular anise.
Sambuca is made from star anise. Yeah.
Okay.
Or if you've ever gone to pho, if you've ever gone to pho restaurants, part of their seasoning in pho, the broth is star anise. It's an amazing spice. It really is. Just amazing. So this, you're going to get slightly earthy sandalwood, right? But it's sweetened ever so slightly, and you'll get that vanilla, almost custard note, right? Fennel-like quality or star anise. There is an oily note to it almost, isn't there? I'm thinking like teakwood. If you've ever burned incenses that contain teakwood, there is a slightly like fatty note to it, which I think is very pleasant. Kasturi Chandan is a peerless item. That is to say, I really cannot compare this necessarily to any other item, but what I can say is if you like precious sandal, it's likely that you will like Kasturi Chandan. It also would make for an excellent sample, and I could send more than one sample as well per pack. So if you think you must try this, and my opinion is yes, everyone must. But that's, I'm an elitist that way. Kasturi Chandan, it's with a K, Kasturi. And you can look these up on our website if you get a chance. So we're going to move to number 59, which is Persian Rose. Okay, what's really nice about this is many people, kind of in the same way when they hear sandalwood, some people are turned off, because when they think rose, for this totally opposite reason, they're thinking of over-the-top, oil-based, perfumey roses, which, again, some people can find irritating, choking. Some people get headaches from them, or they just sort of imagine the sort of old lady perfume kind of thing. So this is a really nice way to work people into really explaining there's more to rose incenses than meets the eye.
Well, if you ever smell different types of roses, they all have a different fragrance.
All different. And from batch to batch, they'll be different.
Yes.
My favorite is Turkish rose.
I like a lot of the roses that you'll find them The wild roses that
Wild,
you'll
right.
find by the ocean.
Right.
They
Those,
have-
and you find the rose hips on those
Yeah.
too. You can harvest them. They're very nice. They grow also some parts like Fairmount Park too, but you got to be careful of the poison ivy. In fact, my favorite place ever is in Spice Market, the Egyptian Spice Market in Istanbul. As you get into the covered section, right as you first enter the covered section of the Spice Market in Istanbul, they call it the Egyptian Spice Market. Immediately, I believe it's to your left, one of the first stalls is a fellow who sells religious vestments and worry beads, and one of the things he sells also are oils. And he has the real thing, the real Turkish rose oil, raw, unrefined Turkish rose oil, which if you're there during a cold month will actually crystallize and solidify almost the way honey will eventually kind of crunch up. And so he has to dunk it in warm water, because otherwise you're going to get just the top notes. You won't get the base notes, the larger molecular weight components, which is really what you're looking for ultimately in getting raw rose oil. So anyway, let me pass this around. Super, super clean, not really very perfumey. The thrust of the fragrance is in a subtle sandalwood with something in it like rose petal, like lightly roasting rose petal, not rose oil as such. It almost could pass for a rose tea. If you've ever had a rose petal tea, this can pass for something very akin to it.
You don't get the fragrance until you get to the base note.
No, right, exactly.
Top note's a little smoky.
It can almost pass for a floral confection. If you've ever had rose candies, have you ever had the violet candies?
No.
Okay.
The sugared, yeah.
The violet candy?
Candies.
This would be kind of the rose equivalent. And in India and everything, they'll always have rose candies. It's not a sweet fragrance, but you can almost see this seasoning like a tea cake, right? You wouldn't mind this seasoning a biscuit or a tea cake, or accenting maybe a lightly vanilla icing, like a royal icing. Super light.
It's a lingering, gentle effect of the environment.
It's almost like
pass that.
It's almost like a well-scented body powder. You know, it has that sort of very intimate kind of quality about it that you would very much so, that you would like a bedroom to smell like this. It is romantic. In fact, you could probably even get away with burning this during a meal. This is not a super obtrusive floral. It's one of the problems with many incenses, especially florals. You can't really, or you probably shouldn't be burning them during dinners. Fragrance such as this would probably accent certain meals, particularly Asian fare. I think this would work really well. Kind of like how certain wines, they talk about Gewürztraminer wines, things like that being served with, Asian fare. Of course, it has that lychee. In fact, interesting, I should mention, I'm kind of getting a little bit of that lychee kind of quality, almost Gewürztraminer wine-like quality in this.
The British say lychee.
Lychee, right? The English say lychee. But lychee is closer to correct, as we found out.
We're not going to fight.
Because lychee, I believe, is the lychee, the Chinese. That's the Mandarin. Lychee. You have to curl your tongue back. Lychee. So anyway, we're not going to go into pinyin now. Pinyin now, right? So anyway, this does have a little bit of that Gewürztraminer like quality. So I could see something like this burning during dinner, but I really think the power of fragrance like this is going to be after dinner.
Very intimate.
Right. If all things go well,
Yes.
and you're like, so what'd you think of your hot dogs? I think you're going to need to do a little better than that. Try a little bit, okay? It'll pay off in the end. So we're going to move on. We're going to show you. I got to show you this next. This is one of the incenses that keeps popping up over and over again because it's just so wonderful. And in fact, this I believe might have come up when I showed Kasturi Chandan way back before. This is from the Sheroff company, and they make amazing incenses.
What number?
This is Sheroff Amber Rose. It's number 8. I show this all the time. just because I think it's one of the most likable incenses I have. Kind of like Kasturi Chandan in that sense. And you'll notice certain similarities between it too. Even though we're not talking about Kasturi Chandan right now, technically we're talking about Persian rose. So this is another excellent fragrance for people. Let me pass that on. We're really also turned off about the notion of rose incenses. Because again, they're expecting very perfumey or that grandma kind of smell. And this is completely not like that. It's a very clean, very dry, ambergris type fragrance. For anybody that smelled like the clean, refined ambergris, it's a smell you'll never forget. If you smell raw ambergris, you'll never forget that either because it's revolting. Raw ambergris smells kind of like a chunk of rancid fat.
Oh.
Like semi-rotting, because that's what it really is. Grease refers to fat. But in the perfume industry, ambergris is like gold. And to some extent, it was one of the contributing factors to the almost extinction of the sperm whale. Yeah? Because one of the things you would find inside the gastrointestinal tract of sperm whale was ambergris. Now, it's extraordinarily rare and extraordinarily expensive because essentially you have to wait for the whales to cough the stuff up.
You can't kill them.
You know, right? So there are certain areas of the world that it seems for whatever reason to be found more than other parts. I believe it's off of France called the Ambergris Coast, and people forage for ambergris. Okay. Also, there are certain components to ambergris that they've isolated from other things. For example, cuttlefish bone. They think that might have. Also, they smell a little bit like the Kasturi Chandan, the unlit stick. Has that sort of that lemony, frankincense-y, bergamot-y smell, right? Oh. So it's very dry, very light, not highly aromatic, not highly perfumed. You're going to take seat number 1.
Okay.
Right? You got promoted.
Oh, wow.
So this is from Sheroff, and this is another company that pretty much everything they make, if you try one of their products, you can easily identify another one, with only a couple of exceptions. One being Sheroff Nargis, which is a really, really powerful, heady floral perfume. Doesn't smell anything like what they make.
Do I have to do anything in seat number?
No, you're good. You're golden. Yeah, you're golden. You know, we're going to show, you know what, I'm going to show this because this one here, this is Red Rose Sandal, number 184.
Rose Sandal.
Yeah, exactly. And but this is a red sandalwood based incense instead of a white or what they call yellow sandalwood base. And although I don't think it's made by Sheroff, whoever is making this is trying their darndest to replicate the fragrance profile that Sheroff does. So this is nearly identical to Sheroff Sandal Flora. It's almost identical to Sheroff Sandal Flora, but it's got a little bit more of a rose note than Sheroff Sandal Flora, and less of the spice. Sheroff Sandal Flora has more of the cardamom, coriander seed. This has also a note of black cardamom to it, which very distinctive. We have this black cardamom. If you've ever had like biryanis or some Indian rice dishes, you'll find this funny-looking brown lump thing in there that, if you bite into it, kind of has almost a phenolic, smoky kind of quality, almost medicinal. If you hit one of the whole pieces, it's one of the little secret ingredients in some people's Bloody Marys. Right? It's one of those real secret ingredients. It's also used in some Vietnamese cooking. Again, making pho. It's a key ingredient in making pho also, but it's one of the secrets.
That was a call-in just now from Jennifer in
Jennifer.
Ohio.
Jennifer.
She called in last time we had one live and requested a sample of Stardust number 87, which we sent.
Oh, good. Oh.
The next day, she called and requested a packet. And she said it is just
Stardust.
delicious.
Stardust surprised us.
She just wouldn't stop talking about the fragrance.
I mean,
Sheroff moss
That's
awesome.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's oak moss in there. I wouldn't be at all surprised. You're also picking up some of that earthy quality of black cardamom, which is why initially I thought there was black cardamom. It wouldn't shock me if there was oak moss or an extract of oak moss in here. I love oak moss, but it's a pain in the keister to work with. Because it's sticky and stains everything. Yeah, and it will not dissolve in anything, pretty much. It's like tar.
Rose Sandal is what number?
This is Red Rose Sandal. This is number 184. All right. Very dry, very clean, very earthy. Red sandalwood base, which is not as aromatic as yellow sandalwood. All right. It's a bit more crisp, would be the word, right?
Mm-hmm.
Almost like there are some confections that have a certain crisp, like Pez have a certain crisp flavor to them, not just their texture. And this would sort of be in that category where it's a very, very compact, tight, crisp fragrance, not perfumey, very, very gentle. And this is a really great way to kind of break people of this notion that rose incenses have to be really, really strong. We do have some rose incenses that are very, very strong. Ultimate Rose being one of them. I mean, if you light one of those, a large house will be absolutely fumed, with a very powerful amber rose, fragrance. I had others, but you know what? I should do one more. I'll do one more. Let's do Russian Rose, because that'll lead us right into the next item. Because people that like Persian Rose, they often like Russian Rose, and then they'll probably like the next thing I'm going to show, which is item number 61. This one here is Russian Rose, number 152. Also a very dry, crisp, clean rose. Okay, I guess we should go into the whys and wherefores of many of these fragrances and what makes incenses and how they're built. All right. My very first discussion was about not any specific incense or even necessarily things that we carry, but about how these things are constructed. Okay. And there's roughly 3 categories or so of stick incense, Indian stick incenses. All right. Masala incenses. Does anybody do any Indian cooking? You ever see garam masala, this masala, that masala? It refers to a mixture of spices. So in incenses, masala incenses are made up of solid ingredients. So the aromatic compounds are what the stick is made of, the actual stuff that's rolled up under the bamboo core. So what you see on there is not a blank wood pulp base that's dipped in oil. All right. What you see on the bamboo core is the fragrant material. All right. So it's spices, herbs, roots, whatever, rose petals, or whatever they're going to do. They grind it up into a very fine paste, mix with water, and usually some kind of a binding agent. Tragacanth, gum arabic. You want something that's going to be neutral or pleasant smelling, gum arabic. Alginate is another good one, which is from seaweed, right? Sometimes some of these incenses need a little help in burning, so a small amount of potassium nitrate. It's not unusual in some of these.
There's something called beno.
Well, there's benzoin.
Yeah,
is a resin. That's not uncommon, and it's funny you mentioned, but you're going to smell benzoin in this incense. This is Russian Rose, and it contains some benzoin. That's from the good stuff's from Sumatra. There's another benzoin from Thailand, appropriately called benzoin Siam. And these are resins, but resins are hard to burn, so usually they need a little help. So high resin containing incenses will contain a certain amount of potassium nitrate, or mako powder is another material that seems to aid in the combustion of these things. You have to be careful, because add too much, it'll burn like a fuse. you know, like a firework. Like, you know, if you don't put enough, it won't burn.
We have a caller on the line who was saying, is this what makes the difference between some of the dollar store incenses that are dipped and some of these more traditional, the fact, the care of blending of these ingredients
Right.
and things like that?
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that you get like in flea markets and that kind of thing, those are wood pulp material, and those are like they have wood-based blanks and they're dipped in oils. All right. Usually the oils are cut with, I believe they use propylene glycol. I believe is one of the common ingredients, which is not terribly toxic. It's okay. Some of these incenses, like some of the oil-based incenses, will contain propylene glycol. It's you'll find it in the fog machines if you go to a concert. You've never been to a concert?
No,
Oh, never.
no.
They use it in the fog machines very often. So if you ever gone to like one of those laser shows, like sometimes you actually can feel it, like on you. You can feel like a funny greasy residue left on you. So that's in fog machines. So anyway, these are masala incenses. So what you see is the material, is the actual fragrant material. Then there are oil-based incenses where wood or charcoal blanks are dipped into fragrant oils. That's not to say those are inferior. They're different. The charcoals, the key is finding a good base material. All right, finding a good blank. In fact, I'll even take a blank that I like. If I want a good patchouli incense, I'll use one of these sandalwood incenses and use it as a blank and put patchouli oil directly on the stick. It's the only way I've been able to really find a patchouli incense I've really, really liked.
Wow.
So like this frangipani, which is definitely not a blank. This is a nice, well, that's sort of the next top, what they call combination incenses, where they make fragrant masala incenses and dip them in oils. So it's like kind of a compound of fragrant masala dipped in oil. So you get like a double hit of things. Many sandalwood incenses are like that. So I'll start with, say, like frangipani, and I'll take an applicator of patchouli and put little dots on it. And so I'm able to create like a patchouli nagchampa combination, and it's fantastic. Better than any patchouli incense I've ever actually had. Make sure you use pure patchouli oil. If it's cut, I don't know what it's cut with. So yeah, but some of them are oils of some sort. And they could be like, they might be vegetable oil, might be mineral oil. If it's vegetable oil, it'll stink to high heaven. It'll smell like, smoldering vegetable oil. I don't know what happens to mineral oil. It might just go out.
And you're talking about essential oils.
Essential oil, pure. And what I'll do is I'll put in intervals. So I'll put like a dot, a dot, a dot, a dot, so that I get little hits of patchouli,
Yeah, so it's not overwhelming.
Yeah, right. And so you don't get used to it because patchouli oil is so expensive. I mean, a good patchouli oil, if you want a real patchouli oil, like half ounce, you're looking like $20 to $25.
Really?
Yeah. So that's a little trick that we've learned. So anyway, masala incenses are made from dry, solid ingredients. Then oil-based, which are either charcoal. The good charcoal is made from coconut shell. Okay, that's the good stuff.
That's what you use if you're firing. Like now they have a lot of copper clays and sterling, because that's an alloy of copper, and bronze clays, and it's a two-step firing process. So you fire it in the charcoal coconut shell.
Does that kind of create like a reducing effect on the surface?
I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't really
like
had a chance to play with that a lot. But
kind of like how raku works. You know how it reduces the copper greens into copper reds and all that kind of cool stuff. It happens in glass blowing too. We can play with that. But all of our kilns are electric, so we can't influence the environment at all. If we want to influence the environment of our glass, we have to do it in the torch by altering the fuel oxygen mixture, which is kind of fun to do because you can create like a rolling copper leaf and burn it, and then you reduce it back into like penny copper, so you have like glass beads. They look kind of like raku with actual like bright, brand new penny copper, like just like veins all over it. It's really, really cool effect, but it's take some practice. You ruin a lot of glass doing that. But when you do raku, you ruin a lot of pottery as well because it's not terribly functional. So then we have thing in between, which is